Okay, what you need to know when we're looking at graphs is that you need to factor, and then holes are when you have a factor in the top and the bottom. What's left after you've looked at holes in the top are your X-intercepts. Anything left in the denominator is a vertical asymptote. Horizontal asymptotes, if the degree of your numerator is equal to the degree of your denominator, you use the coefficients. If the degree of the numerator is greater than the denominator, there is no horizontal asymptote. And if the degree is less than, the horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. So, in this first problem, I need to factor first. So, x plus 1 over x minus 3, x plus 3. The first thing I always look for are holes. A hole is in the numerator and the denominator. There is nothing that is in the numerator and the denominator, so that means I have no holes. My vertical asymptotes are what are left in the denominator, which would be a positive 3 and a negative 3. So my vertical asymptotes are at x equals 3 and x equals negative 3. My horizontal asymptote is easier to see before I factored, and I could see that my degree of the top is 1 and the degree of the bottom is 2, so that means my horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. The degree of the top is less than the degree of the bottom. The last thing are my x-intercepts, which is when my numerator is equal to 0. So that would be at negative 1. My next one, I need to factor, and you want to make sure you're doing this step correctly, otherwise the rest of your problem will be wrong. So I have a GCF of 2 in the numerator, and then the denominator is x factor, so x plus 2, x plus 1, and my numerator can still factor. It's a difference of squares. So x plus 1, x minus 1 over x plus 2, x minus, or x plus 2, x plus 1. Okay, so a hole is what I look for first. There is an x plus 1 in the numerator and denominator, so that means I have a hole at x equals negative 1. Then what I have left in the denominator is an x plus 2, so that means I have a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 2. In the numerator, I have an x minus 1, so that means my x-intercept is at x equals positive 1. And once again, horizontal asymptotes are usually easier to see before I've factored. The degree of my top is 2, the degree of my bottom is 2, so that means my equation will be the coefficient, the ratio of the coefficients, 2 over 1, which is 2. Okay, next one, factor. Both of these have a GCF going on. So this would be 12 times x plus 2 over x times x plus 2. So I see I have an x plus 2 and an x plus 2 in the numerator and denominator. So that means I have a hole at x equals negative 2. What do I have left in my denominator? I have an x. So that means I have a vertical asymptote when x equals 0. I don't have any other numbers left in with a variable left in my numerator, so I have no x-intercept. And for my horizontal asymptote, I want to look at the degree. The degree of the top is less than the degree of the bottom. I have 1 and 2. So that means my horizontal asymptote is at y equals 0. My last one is already factored. Since already factored, it's easy to see I don't have anything that will cancel or reduce, so I have no holes. What I'm left with in the denominator is x minus 3, so my vertical asymptote is at x equals 3. What's left in my numerator is x minus 5, so I have an x-intercept at positive 5, and x plus 2, so I have an x-intercept at x equals negative 2. Now, this, I can think of either multiplying this out. I would end up with x squared minus 3x minus 10 over x minus 3. So that means that the degree of the top is greater than the degree of the bottom, so there is no horizontal asymptote. Okay? So think back to that first slide. That is really all you need to know. You need to factor, and then look. If you have something in the top and the bottom, it's a hole. Whatever's left after holes in the top is your x-intercept. Whatever's left in the bottom is your vertical asymptote. For horizontal asymptotes, you look at the degree of the numerator and the degree of the denominator. If they're equal, it's y equals your coefficients. If the numerator is greater than the denominator, there's no horizontal asymptote. And if the degree of the numerator is less than the denominator, it's y equals 0. You basically just have to memorize those couple things I boxed up. After that, these should be really easy.